I loved what he said in that press conference where he said, yo, straight up, I do not align with what my father did. I don't respect it. That's not how we get down. I'm going to have a talk with him. I just thought that was very powerful. And you know, the one thing I'll give his father credit for is that he raised that kind of young man who can differentiate between right and wrong and doesn't put...
But he can.
Yeah, but at least my son better than me.
So following Tuesday night's thrilling ending to the Bucks-Pacers series, all eyes weren't on Tyrese Haliburton, who had just closed out this game, but on his father, John, who had gotten into the face of Giannis Antetokounmpo. This caused a little pushing and shoving on the court. Now, following the game, Tyrese said flat out that his father was in the wrong. And in a tweet, John said, quote, I sincerely apologize to Giannis, the Milwaukee Bucks, and the Pacers organizations for my actions following tonight's game. This was not a good reflection on our sport or my son, and I will not make this mistake again. Rodney, what was your reaction to seeing John Haliburton get out on the court in Giannis's face?
You bet your ass you're not going to do this again because your ass is about to be suspended for the rest of the playoffs, buddy. What are you doing? I just, you know, I'm all for people being excited about their kids having success in any arena, on any, you know, in most normal circumstances. You know, if my son were to win a spelling bee championship, I would go crazy. But it's the first round of the playoffs. And just last year, this team was in the Eastern Conference Finals. So why are we acting like we ain't been there before? I'm very confused. Very confused. He's also very lucky that Giannis didn't put hands on him because Giannis didn't right off the bat recognize who he was. Like,
it didn't even seem like Giannis recognized him at all. He was kind of looking out into space like, dang, how did we just really lose this game? We was up by like 5 or 6 points with 40 seconds left.
7. Up by 7.
Okay, you were up by 7 points with 40 seconds left in the game. How did we let Tyrese by himself win the game, right? And so it just seemed like the dad was like inching closer. He's doing this, and then he starts running his mouth. And Giannis is like, wait a minute, what are you doing? Why is he even on the floor? That was my question. Like, how did you even get out on the floor? I think the biggest thing, though, is that nobody, like I just said, nobody is talking about Tyrese Haliburton, right? He was just rated, like, overrated, or he was named overrated.
The most overrated, yep.
And he came back after the game and was like, overrate that, or whatever he tweeted out. So that obviously meant something to him. He's building a legacy right now, and all we're talking about is you, because you don't know how to act. And you got way too excited. I don't know if he had a few beers. I don't really know what was going on. But like you said, Giannis could have really just thumped him like a booger, and he didn't. And then he came back, and it seemed like they tried to talk it out. I love the fact that Tyrese did say, like, look, my dad is in the wrong. He was wrong.
Yo, thump him like a booger is the countryest phrase I done heard maybe in 2 weeks. How long has Shannon Sharp been suspended for? That was good. So obviously, you know, I worked in the NBA arena, so I'm familiar with how these things take place. Generally, you never go on the floor, right? Like, it doesn't matter who you are. If you're a player parent, a player wife, when the game is over, you do not go on the floor unless, of course, it's like the final game in the championship. So this is something that he clearly has been doing for a while. Security felt comfortable with him being on the floor, so probably this is their protocol. This will now be changed because it only takes one incident to change how we've been functioning. And unfortunately, going forward, he will be the person that starts the trend of like airtight security. The NBA is also one of the sports where it's so tricky because there's no separation between fans and players. Right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes you actually see fans damn near sitting on the bench with players. And so this is going to be something else that's added to a safety precautionary measure. And it's all Tyrese Haliburton's father. As far as Giannis is concerned, Giannis was on one. And rightfully so. This is probably the last game we see him in a Milwaukee Bucks uniform. Yo, I can't even sit and like soak up the scene. Like he was really trying to like take it all in one last time. He was in a moment of reflection. And here your cone-headed ass come out on the court and disrupt my ability to absorb the scene. And it's just, you know, it's unfortunate, but worse than that is the simple fact that, you know, this Milwaukee Bucks team had such high expectations, such high hopes coming into the season. Obviously, Dame is, you know, missed the last game of this series and will likely miss the entirety of next year. And this Bucks franchise is going to be forced to figure out what they do with their championship MVP superstar Giannis Antetokounmpo, because they have no draft picks for the next 5 years. And your other star player is gone for the year. What do you do with Giannis?
I don't know. And that's a good point. He was reflecting on all of that. And this man just, instead of him going and finding his son or finding another Pacers player, he's in Giannis's face. I posed the question, what if that was T. Morant?
Ooh. What if that was LeVar Ball? Ooh. What if that was Deion Sanders? No, I'm kidding. Yeah, it's.
What if that was Karl Anthony Towns Sr.?
Hey, big jersey. You know, I just it's messed up, man. And you know, Tyrese, I love Tyrese's response in the aftermath. I love what he said in that press conference where he said, "Yo, straight up, I do not align with what my father did. I don't respect it. That's not how we get down. I'm gonna have to have a talk with him." I just thought that was very powerful. And you know, the one thing I'll give his father credit for is that he raised that kind of young man who can differentiate between right and wrong and doesn't put.
But he can.
Yeah, but at least my son better than me. I respect that. I respect that.
Right. And it was a historic night for Tyrese. Like, I have the tweet here. Like, he's one of 9 players now to have 4 straight playoff games with points and assists, doubles. And so you're in really good company in this list of 9. And we're not talking about that. We're talking about your dad.
I'm going to keep not talking about Tyrese. He had a great series, but I want to continue to talk about Giannis just a little bit because in addition to Tyrese's father, he also was about to get it in with, I believe it was Benedict Mathurin. He grabbed the back of his head. He grabbed the back of his head and Giannis was holding on to him like he was a low-ass boy. Like, hey, bro, you lucky we're in front of all these cameras. Otherwise, it would really go down. So you could tell that the emotions were raised, were heightened. And maybe Tyrese's dad got Benedict head palm like an orange, all because he couldn't let it out on what he perceived to be a fan. And so this really set off a series of events. It could have been catastrophic. And especially in Indiana, you know, you got to think Malice in the Palace, Pacers, Pistons, while that happened in Detroit, you know, shades up.
It could have gotten shades really ugly. They kept trying. I mean, Giannis, they was trying to. Everybody was trying. It seemed like whoever he was talking to, if you said that was Benedict, I don't know. But it seemed like maybe he was running his mouth during the game. And he was like, let me just go in and check. While I'm checking, let me go in and check him too. And he's not even like he's like really just talking to people. He's just like, let me just have a real conversation with you. Don't you ever do that again in your life.
You cursed. I like that. But he's so stern. The only thing that messes me up is his voice is so high. He's like, I promise that if you do that again, I will. I promise that if you do that again, I will not respect that because as a man, I don't like it. So it's hard to take the threat so serious when the voice is that high pitched. But Giannis is an old school man. He's just an old school dude. He handles these situations with the level of poise and maturity that far belies his. I think he's only 30 years old, if I'm not mistaken. He's a guy. As far as where he goes, that voice was funny. As far as where he goes next year, there's a scenario here where Giannis could potentially end up a member of the Houston Rockets. I saw some suggestions out there, trade packages that could land him in Houston, and some of them aren't so bad. And so as we look around the league and figure out who has the cap space to be able to absorb his contract, in addition to who has pieces that Milwaukee actually could want and covet, it's really between Houston, OKC, maybe Minnesota. You know, maybe you can find a way to package Rudy Gobert and some other pieces and send him over. You know, I don't know. I'll just try to figure out a way for him to get out of Milwaukee because it's time. He's never had a good meal. He's never had a good meal as a part of an NBA franchise. That's a dope city. And so it's about that time. It's about that time.
I agree.
Also, we ain't mean to wear these shirts. Okay, we matching, but I promise y'all, this was not intentional whatsoever. I actually can't believe that I came on here and seen you in this bright red ass shirt. Hey, Kool-Aid.
I was gonna wear black again because I have like 50 black shirts, but I was like, I can't keep wearing black. They're gonna think I'm in mourning.
You should be. Before we get out of here, Detroit Pistons got the dub last night. I heard the Pistons won again. Hey, I heard the Pistons won again. Great game. Loving that series. I really wish Detroit when I really wish Detroit would have won that first game. I feel like they let that first game slip away, and even the fourth game. But as it stands, it's now 3-2, going back to Detroit with an opportunity to tie this series up. And I'm hoping, I'm praying that the Knicks lose. I want the Knicks to lose so bad. You know, I'm a Knicks
They're not
hater.
playing well at Little Caesars. They have not been playing well at Little Caesars. And all the stars are coming out. I mean, people coming back to Detroit ain't been in Detroit in years. They like, okay, we got to come to the Pistons game. And y'all losing. Yeah. I ain't going over there. I'm not paying my money.
Why? No, I feel like you're never going to lose 3 home games in a playoff series. That would be crazy. 3 home games.
If they do, we'll
insane.
come back and we'll talk about it.
Yeah, and then Jalen Brunson got banged up a little bit. So did Josh Hart. So you never know. Things might be changing. We'll see.
Brunson is the oldest looking young person I've ever seen.
Greg Oden was the oldest young person I ever saw. And let us not forget about LeBron, okay? There's been some... Yo, we got to get out of here. This is a fun episode. I've had a really good time, man. You all let us know your thoughts about Tyrese Haliburton's daddy. Was he completely in the wrong for stepping on the floor? And what should his penalty be? You all let us know your thoughts in the comment section.